Hey everyone at Emmanuel Church in Brighton. Hope you're all well. If you don't know me, I'm Matt Simmonds, married to my beautiful wife Jo. We lived in Brighton for 8 years and were part of your amazing church before we moved here to Amsterdam in the Netherlands to start Liberty Church just over 6 years ago. We've been on a wonderful adventure of seeing God's faithfulness and Him move in some really wonderful ways. We hope you're all well. We miss you all loads. One of the very frustrating elements of this season is not being able to travel, not being able to head back to the UK and visit family and friends as much as we would like, and also not having guys from Brighton, which would normally happen all the time, come and visit us. So we're sad to not see any of you guys in this season, but we're praying for you, and we always encouraged to know that you guys are praying for us as well. Let me get into the passage for today. Well done if you've been reading through these passages faithfully day by day and going through the Bible in a year. I guess you're probably nearly 80% through so far, so well done. If you're just dipping in and out, that's fine as well. Hope you're enjoying it lots. We are a couple of different passages today, but what I'm going to look at is Jeremiah chapter 27. I think in your reading today was 26 and 27 of Jeremiah, which seems at first glance a bit of an odd chapter. Jeremiah has this sort of prophetic demonstration where he puts on the yoke like a cattle or a horse would wear to pull a cart, and tells them that this is what's going to happen to their nation, for the people of God, the Israelites, that Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, is going to invade, and they're going to have to serve him like an animal under his yoke. And it seems at first glance rather a bit of a depressing passage, and I guess in some ways it is. If you think about it, because what Jeremiah prophesies happens a few years later, that Nebuchadnezzar does invade, does cause lots of destruction to Jerusalem. He takes away lots of the things that were precious to them, lots of the treasures that were in their temple. He also destroys lots of, not just the city, but lots of families. It's a horrible story of what happens. Their slavery in Babylon is a pretty horrible story as well. You can read about that in the book of Daniel. And also you can read some of the pain of the journey they went through in the book of Lamentations as well. And the exile is what you would call that part of Bible history. Seems a bit of an odd occurrence, and difficult for us to comprehend what this means for us. Why did God allow this to happen? Why was there such humiliation for the people of God, such brutality against them? Well, a couple of lessons I think are helpful for us is, first of all, is that sometimes we will feel that we will live as exiles, as the people of God end up doing, and it should be a great comfort to us to know that all of that happens under God's sovereignty, that even this evil ruler Nebuchadnezzar was put in place by God. That's what it says here in Jeremiah 27, that it was God who allows this to happen. At the start of Daniel chapter 1, it says that when Nebuchadnezzar invaded, it was the Lord that gave the people of God into his hands, that God is faithful over the whole thing. Even there's a bit of a clue in the passage here in Jeremiah 27 where it says that Nebuchadnezzar was king even over the wild beasts, which seems a bit of a weird thing to throw into the passage. And that's repeated again in the story of Daniel. But in Daniel chapter 6, we read that Nebuchadnezzar has this weird story where he goes a bit mad and he becomes himself like one of the wild beasts. God causes that to happen in his life. And that's what God can do. He can put you in charge, give you responsibility, but he can humble rulers and kings and emperors as well. All of this happens under his sovereignty and authority. And Jeremiah warns the people of God here not to listen to all the false prophets who are telling them that that this won't happen, that the king of Babylon won't invade, that they can resist him. Elsewhere in Jeremiah, it talks about us not finding peace where there is no peace. Our peace isn't in false hope that often gets brought to us, but our peace is trusting in Jesus, trusting in his sovereignty, his supremacy over all things. And in many ways, this story of what happens is, I guess, is a bit of a repeat of what happens in the Exodus story, which I know you guys are just beginning to work through as a church as well. But in Exodus, another evil emperor, Pharaoh this time, is raised up against the people and he enslaves them. They live, in a sense, in exile in Egypt. But we obviously know from that story that with every season of exile, every season of enslavery, there always comes an exodus. And that happens again for the people of God when they're taken into Babylon. That even in Jeremiah 27 here, God promises that they will be released, that freedom from captivity will come. And we know that to be true for us. It's not just a promise that we hopefully cling on to, but we already know for us that the Exodus has already taken place, that Jesus has already won our freedom from exile, our freedom from slavery, and his great victory for us on the cross, that we can know his perfect freedom and liberty now. And even when we're in a season like perhaps this Corona season feels to you, perhaps like you're wearing a bit of a yoke around your shoulders, that it feels heavy and weighty, a season of exile, and you're just clinging on to a hope of at some point we're going to be free from this. At some point, this yoke will be removed. But the great hope for us as believers is that the heavy yoke that was on us has already been removed. That Jesus took that upon himself. He took the burden upon himself, and that even in seasons of hardship and difficulty now, we trust in a sovereign God who will work good for us every day. So, brothers and sisters, let's cling on to that great promise today that whatever yoke you're feeling on your life right now, lean into the freedom that you have in Christ, the freedom from exile and slavery that you have in him, and the great liberty we have in him. Cling on to his wonderful sovereignty, that he's in control of all rulers and kings and all world events, and we can trust him in every season of our lives. Have a great day, everyone, and be praying that God blesses you richly today. Okay, see you soon.